9.6 slope, intercept, form. Okay, so lately what y'all been doing is trying to find the slope. The slope is huge, so we spent 2 days on looking for the slope, be it with a graph or without a graph. Today you're going to learn what every math algebra student can say in their sleep. It's the slope-intercept form. You need to know what the y-intercept is. This right here is extremely important. This is number 1, y-intercept. It is the point where a line crosses the y-axis. Okay, that right there, I mean, drill it into your head. The y-intercept. It's the point where a line, like these graphs right here, these lines, it's where they cross the y-axis. You know, like on a Cartesian plane, you know, that y'all learned about and everything? That y-axis, the one up and down, it's where this line, this graph, crosses it. Either it's in the upwards or the negatives on the downside. This one you really have to know. The x-intercept is very rarely used. It's the point where a line crosses the x-axis. But when graphing, typically we really just talk more about the y-intercept. Okay? All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Therefore, the y-intercept, okay, you're not going to be able to stand in front of Kelly. The y-intercept can be found by substituting 0 for the x in the equation. And then solving for y. So the y-intercept can be found by substituting 0 for the x to find the y. And real quick drawing. Let's pretend this is my x-axis and that's my y-axis. This is my graph or my line. Where this line crosses the y is the y-intercept. Where this crosses the x-axis, that's your x-intercept. So there's a visual for what we're talking about. Okay, so the y-intercept is where your line crosses the y, and your x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. Does that make sense? Okay, no one's saying anything, so I'm just going to keep going.
All right. It is. I don't hear you.
Okay, I'm sitting right next to you.
No, but like for some reason, I've done it so many times that I can block it up first out of.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so let's say the question is find the x and y intercepts given 2x plus 3y equals 6. Okay, so there's your equation. And they said find the x and y intercepts just by doing that. So to find the y-intercept, we're going to sub this x with 0. We're going to sub, to find the y-intercept, we're going to sub that x with 0. So I'm going to write 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 6. Sub. Okay, so we're going to, because right here it says you can substitute the 0. So here's the equation, and they're saying find the x and y intercepts. Once you find those intercepts, then you can just connect the dots, and there's your graph. There's your line. So here's the equation. I'm going to substitute that x with 0 to find the y-intercept. So 2 times 0 is, all together now, 0. So 0 plus 3y equals 6, which is the same as 3y equals 6. Now what do I do? Kelly?
You do, I forgot what it was called, but you divide 3y by 6.
No, you divide 3y by 3 on both sides. Yeah. So y equals 2. So your y-intercept is 2. Basically, it's written 0 and 2. Now, to find your x-intercept, you're going to do the same thing, but this time you're substituting the y for 0. So I'm going to rewrite my formula, and I'm substituting the y with a 0. Three times 0 is 0, so I have 2x plus 0 equals 6, which is 2x equals 6. Now I divide both sides by 2, and I get x equals 3, which is really saying 3 and 0. So those are my two intercepts. All I'd have to do is put a dot on the 2 on the y-axis and a dot on the 3, positive 3 on the x, and connect the dots. That's all you'd have to do. That's it.
Isn't this just regular intruder alert?
Yeah, but it's to find the y-intercept and the x-intercept.
Oh, okay, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, my kids can say
So then, like, if you wanted to draw the graph, just gonna do it right here.
do we have to do this part?
No. So if y is 2, I'd go 1, 2, put a dot there, and then x is positive 3. 1, 2, 3. And then if you connect those dots, there's your graph.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
So they did give the number 0, right? For the x and y.
Do what?
Find the x and y
You substitute with 0 for each of them.
for everything, or
You substitute the x
Okay.
with 0,
Okay.
and you solve for y. And then here, you would substitute the y. You'd rewrite your equation and substitute the y with 0, and then solve for x.
Is that for like?
It's one of the rules.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that, okay, see, Talia knew what you're asking. Yes, that's a rule.
Because I was like, do they give you the number like for each?
It's always 0.
Okay, that's the only thing I need.
If you need to find the x and y intercepts. Very seldom are you going to use this, but you need to know how to do it. All right, let's move on. All right. This right here, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 stars. The slope, intercept, formula. 1, 2, 3, 4. This here, very important. The formula is y equals mx plus b. Box, star, star. You, by the time this class, this school year is over, you will have this drilled into your head. You will always remember this. You will be doing this in your sleep. There's no need to sit there and put too much effort into memorizing this, because there's no way you can't memorize this by the time I'm done. This is like the bones of algebra. Graphing, all of this has to do with that.
That one equation I've seen on multiple Excels, and I was always like, what's that?
Yep, y equal. In fact, my students don't always remember the name slope-intercept formula. They just remember y equals mx plus b. They'll sit there, all the algebra students. If you ask them what the slope-intercept formula is, they'll look at you funny. But if you say, okay, what's the formula to graph a line? Oh, y equals mx plus b. We call it the y equals mx plus b formula, okay? All right, so there's some things you need to know here. To be able to graph any line, it has to be in this format. Has to be. Has to be. To be able to graph it has to be this format. So you know what a y is, you know what an x is, okay? What you need to know is what the m is and what the b is. Okay, you need to know what the m and the b. These are important. M is your slope. M is the slope. So y'all spent 2 days learning about the slope. Well, this m is the slope. The x has to be there in the formula. And whenever you see a number or what looks like a fraction next to the x, that's your clue that we're talking about the slope, okay? The b is your y-intercept. Star, 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 star. The M, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be drilling this because I still have every once in a while Algebra 1 students that will forget. I'll say, I'll give them an equation, I'll say, what's the slope? And they'll tell me it's the y-intercept. No. If you get these two confused in the equation, you will not be not be able to graph a line. So the slope is your M, your B is your y-intercept. Now, I'm putting all these stars. You can tell how important this stuff is.
Yeah, you put like 14 stars on this whole entire page. Right?
Always graph the B, which is your y-intercept, First, always graph the B, your y-intercept, first. So when you're given this equation, the first thing you're going to do is jump right there. That's number one. Number one. You will find that. It'll be like a 4 or a negative 4 or something like that. And you're going to stick that dot on your graph first. Always, always, always. In fact, I'm going to put a little arrow. First. Always. I got to drill that into your head.
Is it okay if we're like just barely starting to understand this?
Of course.
Okay, because like I don't understand until we do like
The examples, that's right. But what you need to know right now is just kind of like when we were learning about slope. The one thing I wanted you to understand is going down is negative, going left is negative, going up is positive, going right is positive. If you can remember that, then you're good. You need to right now know that M is always your slope, B is always your y-intercept. That's what you need to know right now. Okay. I'm just going to give you this. What if I have y equals 4x minus 2? Right here. Raise your hand if you can tell me what the slope is. Italia.
You said from M.
Yep. Slope is M.
Oh, 4.
Very good.
I was thinking of B.
No. It's okay. It's okay. That's why we're doing this. So she's correct. It's 4. What is the B then? The y-intercept. Joseph?
-2.
-2. There you go. Now you can graph it. With that information, you can graph it. Quick question. What does the slope look like? Does it look like a whole number or a fraction? Kelly?
whole number.
Nope.
Oh, it looks like.
Yeah, what does it look like?
Oh, it looks like a fraction.
Looks like a fraction. Does this look like a fraction?
Yeah.
A 4?
Oh no.
So, to be able to actually graph it, we want to do 4 over 1 because of rise over run.
You were saying is a fraction.
Does that make sense though? Remember we talked about rise over run, rise over run. So it's okay to have a whole number, but when you go, and this is a correct answer what Talia gave us, but if you were to graph it, you would want to then change it to 4 over 1 so you can do your rise over run. Okay? Rise over run. All right. I'm going to give you another example. What about y equals 3x minus 2? Italia, what is the slope? 3. Kelly, what is the y-intercept?
-2.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Because the slope is m, the y-intercept is b, and we have y equals mx plus b. What I'm impressed with is that nobody has said 3x. I have students that will tell me, oh, the slope is 3x. No, it's not. It's just 3. So you 3 have already zoned in to the fact that the m is all by itself. So when I ask what the slope is, it's just 3. Now, if we are graphing it, what would we make that 3 look like? Italia? Yeah, 3 over 1 because of rise over run. Very good. Okay. If the equation is not in slope intercept form, solve for y to get it in that form. This format right here. Whoops, sorry. If the equation is not already in y equals mx plus b, then you have to rearrange to get it there. Okay, so if it's not in the correct format, we have to solve for y and get it in the correct format. For example, what if I have 2x minus y equals 10? Is that in this format? No. So we got to do that. Volunteer. Joseph, help me to rearrange all this to get it in that format.
First you have to substitute x with 0.
Nope. No. Rearrange the stuff like intruder alert to solve for y. We want y all by itself. So how would I get y all by itself? What do I have to move?
You have to move the 2x.
How do I do that?
Subtract it.
That's right. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides. And I get negative y equals negative 2x plus 10. X has to come first before that 10 because of this format. See, the x comes before that. Now, can I have a negative right here?
No.
No negative. So what do I need to do?
Switch the negative from the negative y over to the negative 2x.
And what does the negative 2x become?
Just positive 2x.
And what does a positive 10 become?
Negative 10.
There we go. Huh?
The x affected the entire problem.
That's right. So now look at it. You can't have a negative here, so it becomes positive, the negative becomes positive, the positive becomes negative. Do y'all see how to put this into y equals mx plus b? Huh? You don't? What part do you not understand?
Like y, we subtracting 2x.
You don't remember intruder alert?
Yeah, but that's multiplication.
No. That's only if we take the 2 away by itself and leave the x. We want to take away the entire term. We want to take the whole thing. If we wanted to separate the 2 and the x, you're right, we'd be dividing.
And then y. Never mind.
Do you understand? What part? You need to tell me.
And like also y 10 becomes a negative.
Okay, so if we have a negative here, we can't have a negative out here.
Right, and then make 2x positive, but y 10 negative.
Everything over here becomes opposite. Everything becomes opposite. Everything. Huh?
It's like, okay, so the y is a negative, so it just you did everything on the other side.
That's right. Everything. Real quickly, before it's time to go, what's the slope? Joseph?
Negative 10. Oh, wait, no, it's negative 2. Positive 2.
All right. And what's the y-intercept? Negative 10. Okay, this is part 1. We'll continue this after lunch.